Be prompted to fill out a survey, and we ask that you take a few moments to fill that out for us. This webcast does qualify for one AIA continuing education credit, so if you would like to receive that credit, you can leave your AIA number on question 4 of our survey, and I can submit that for you. Additionally, all registrants will receive a follow-up email, probably tomorrow, containing a link for the recording of this presentation. And with that, I'll hand things over to Scott.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ashley. I do appreciate that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Civil 3D Comes Alive using InfraWorks. Today we're going to talk about how we can bring our Civil 3D Linework, surfaces, etc., and bring them into InfraWorks so that we can utilize those as a visual tool a lot of times to make either the client or a municipality or even in a public meeting, the public feel more comfortable with what we're trying to accomplish and possibly how something's going to look. Typically, InfraWorks is a conceptual tool, and you probably will utilize it in that regard 90% of the time. But I also like to go ahead after the fact and kind of show once we get to a point where we've got our final design, or we're past maybe the 30, 60, 90, and be at the 60% portion of our design. We know what we're going to do. We know how it's going to impact our site. We'd like to roll it out and see what it's actually going to look like before we start moving dirt, etc. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to open up Civil 3D, which I already have open right here. Okay, and I've simplified this as much as I can based on the webinar. I don't want to have this big whole site and quite honestly overwhelm a lot of folks here. This is our Nashville office. Okay, it is located in Brentwood, Tennessee, and we are actually located in this building here. And this is the area that we use to park, etc. Now, if I can zoom out here, you can see this is Old Hickory Boulevard right here for those of you, if there's anyone in the Nashville area. This is all built up now outside our office. There's actually a building here now, I believe. So we're a little bit older on our aerial version, but what I did initially, I've got a 2D site plan. I have a 3D site plan. Okay. The biggest part for me in order to complete what I'm about to show you was getting my 2D line work and my 3D design information put into the drawing file. Okay, because you will be doing this as part of the project, you'll already have it. Okay, so if I tell you that when I get to this portion, it's like this part took an hour or this part took 2 hours, that's kind of a realistic estimate of what it would take with the proper training in order to generate what I'm about to show you. So what I've basically done is kind of disregard the aerial as far as layout and whatnot, because you'll have a completely blank canvas. I pretty much just tried to follow what the parking was, line up my stripes as 9-foot stripes, parking spaces, 2-foot vertical curb, etc. Okay, and I'm really just going to show you the layout for parking and getting that into InfraWorks and how we can make that look like something that visually and 3D wise makes more sense to us. A lot of folks have an issue looking at two-dimensional objects. Now I have a 2D site plan in order to create my coverage areas in InfraWorks, and I'll show you that as we go through. I'm going to utilize my 3D site plan here, okay, to generate the surface of my finished parking lot. Okay, so typically when I go ahead and create my surfaces for my parking lot, I'm going to use feature lines. And I've kind of started this one here, and I'm going to try to generate one as we go. But I've also worked through this already, so we won't have any issues as far as anything that pops up out of the ordinary, but that never happens to anyone, right? So what I've done here is I've brought over my edge of pavement, and I want to make sure that I can actually see my curbing area. So what I've done is created a polyline, and I used the boundary command so that it was very simple for me to do. I kind of just put it in with construction lines and then finished it off, used boundary to get a closed poly. Now we know how to use, or at least I hope we know how to use feature lines in Civil. Okay. If not, we can address that at another time in another webinar, but for the time being, feature lines are the building blocks for grading. Okay, so I'm going to use my feature lines to designate my curb and gutter here. Okay, so I want to create a feature line for my object. We're going to select that part of the curb right there. Let me bring this over. I'm not too concerned with how things look, at least not now, because I'm just throwing this together. You will probably have a style for your feature line, etc., and put it into specific sites. I've kind of jumped past that for the time being. I don't much care about the upper third here of my dialog box. But what I do want is I want to erase my existing entities, and I do want to assign elevations. Okay, because I've already got, in this case, a finished surface. So I'm just going to extract from those. So I'm going to say OK. And my surface is an InfraWorks surface, actually. I brought this over previously from InfraWorks, so I already had something to go by. Okay, and we're just going to say OK. There's my feature line. Okay, if I select it, you can see I get the contextual ribbon. Drag my panorama over here. Okay, now for some reason, we've got it set up for relative to surface. Okay, here's my actual elevations. So I know that we're about 660 feet above sea level, no problems there. Okay, once I get to this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the create stepped offset command here and generate my flow line. I'm going to generate my vertical curb. I'm going to generate the back of curb. Okay, so once I invoke that command, it's asked me for a distance. My pan's going to be 1.5 feet, 1.5. So we're going to select the object. We're going to move to the inside because it specifies which side we need to offset on. So in this case, it works just like our normal AutoCAD offset command. I'm going to click on the inside there. Now it tells me what's the elevation difference. Okay. In this case, it's going to go from the edge of pavement down to the flow line of curb, and it's going to be a negative 0.0833 change in elevation. Okay, so right now it's reading the surface. I'm going to create a feature line that drops down 0.0833 inches, or feet in this case, because we are engineering folks. Okay, and I hit enter. There's my flow line. We're going to do it again because I need to create my vertical portion of my curb. Now, hopefully at this point, we know that we can't create a true vertical line within the software because it cannot do the calculation based on what we have. This goes all the way back to Land Desktop days. We have to offset it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset it in such a small distance that it's not going to make much difference. But what it does is it allows the software to make its calculations. Okay. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to offset 0.1, something small, right? We're going to select our flow line. We're going to come back inside. The elevation difference here is a positive 0.5. It's a 6-inch vertical curb. Okay. So it's small enough that I can see it. and yet small enough that the software is going to be able to do this calculation. And it's not really going to throw anything as far as the way that it looks once we get to InfraWorks. Okay. So we're going to do that again, finish this off. Offset distance is 0.5 to get to the back of curb. And the elevation difference is 0, right? Top of curb is flat for the most part. We'll pretend it is today. Okay. So now I've got a feature line. And I've got a set that delineates my edge of pavement, my flow, okay, my top of curb, and my back of curb. So what I'm going to do in this case is I am going to add it to my surface as a break line. And I've already added this set of curbing. Okay, so we'll just add. Doesn't matter what you name it, just name it something that makes sense, not only to you, but for whoever's going to come behind you and pick up the project at some point in time. So what we'll do is we'll just say example curb. Works for me. Okay. It is a standard break line, which means that there is an elevation at each vertex. Okay. Now, I do want to use the weeding factors. I'm really more concerned with my mid-ordinate distance. Okay, I like to set this at a very small increment because that smooths out my curves along my curbing and it doesn't look so choppy once I bring it into InfraWorks. So I set a small increment, say 0.05, and we're going to say OK. We're going to select our objects and enter, and now it's a part of my surface. So we can go ahead and take a look in our object viewer. We can see some of the other ones here. Okay, but we can see that we've got curbing. Okay, now it's a little bit harder to see here, and we'll really get the full effect once we get into InfraWorks. But you can see here are some of my islands, and you can see that the curb actually does go down to the flow, back up, and then we've got a back of curb. Okay. So in order to get this surface, and we'll save this, in order to get this surface into InfraWorks, we need to export it as an XML file. We're going to utilize the output portion. We're going to export to land XML. I'm going to clear all of my selections because I only need the surface that I've created here. Okay. Now, most of you, if not all of you, will already have a final surface generated, so you should be able to do this pretty seamlessly already. Okay. So I'm going to say OK. Now it's going to prompt me. I've already created a final.xml. I know that one's going to work because I've already tested it, so I'm not going to overwrite this one. So we'll pretend I said save, and we're off to the races. So let's hop on over to our InfraWorks. Okay, so I generated this area of the Brentwood office in Nashville from Model Builder. So it's going to bring in some roads if we have any. It's going to bring in our aerial. Okay. Some aerials will be better than others. Most of the time, your urban areas have really good resolution. Your rural ones, not so much. Now, this is a Bing map. Okay. You can bring in other aerial imagery if you choose to do so. Okay, so if you actually have some, you can bring it in. So this is what we've got to work with right here. This is my home proposal. Okay, everything is there. We can see that it's parking. If I zoom in, kind of scroll around, you can see it's kind of flat for the most part. There is a crown running through the middle, it looks like. I'm not too concerned about that type of grading as I am with there is absolutely no change from my curb here. Okay. So what I need to do at this juncture is I'm going to start bringing things into InfraWorks. So this is where my Sybil is actually going to start coming alive. Okay. So I'm going to go to my data sources. Okay, little dialog boxes within InfraWorks. For those of you that don't know, this is where I'm going to bring in, and I'm going to be able to configure what I'm utilizing here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get rid of this one because that has no bearing here. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and bring in that XML file. The easiest way to do that is to just drag and drop from wherever your project is. There's my final. Okay, as you can see, I did create it yesterday. So what I want to do is I'm just going to select it, drag it into InfraWorks. It's going to connect to the data source, and this is where I need to configure what I'm bringing in. It's not as difficult as it sounds. Okay. In this case, it already recognizes that it is a terrain surface. Okay. There's no need to place it because it's automatically bringing it into the correct coordinate system. And I'm going to close and refresh. Okay. And now you can see if I zoom in, I can see my curb. So there's my 1.5 foot pan. Okay, my 6-inch vertical. And then we'll be able to see the back of curb here shortly. Okay. So after bringing that in, we're set. We're ready to start rolling. Okay. So what I've done is created another proposal just in case this didn't work called Final Surface. Okay. It's going to look the same. See, we've even got these islands here in the middle. Okay. Before we go any farther, though, I do want to let you know that that is not my north arrow there in the upper portion. That's not a typical north arrow that gets brought in by InfraWorks. That's an FBX file that I dragged in just like I did with my terrain. Okay, so we can bring in all sorts of different types of objects here in InfraWorks. Okay, here's a listing of everything that we can bring in. We can bring in 3D models. We can bring in entire 3D DWG files, 3D objects. We can bring in Revit files, etc. Here's our land XML, raster, SDF, shape files, which is what we're going to bring in. And you can also bring in SketchUp files, which is pretty nice. We don't have to fiddle around with much of anything at that juncture. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to start making this look a little bit more realistic. Okay. I'm not going to have this nice fancy aerial underneath it to show because we're creating something that doesn't exist yet. It's a proposed project. Okay. So with that, I need to start bringing in my edge of pavement or my asphalt. I need to bring in my curb. I need to bring in my grass so that we can actually see where our curb starts and stops. Okay, so for that, what we'll do is we're going to go back to Sybil. This is why I have a 2D site plan. Okay, so I have, in this case, I've got my curbing here. I've got my striping for my parking. I happen to have my grass areas. Okay, I've got my accessible. I decided to put these in blue. They're actually not blue, but kind of want to show a little bit different widths for my striping, etc. Okay, so we're going to see our edge of pavement. And basically what we have here are closed polylines. Okay, I don't in this case because I exploded it accidentally and didn't realize it before I got too far into the drawing, but no problems, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and shut off my aerial here real quick. Don't need it, don't want it. Boom. There we go. Looks a little bit more familiar to what we have. Now, in the case of coverage areas, you can have basically closed polylines and open polylines. Okay, as you can tell, my open polyline in this case, or Linework, would be my striping. My closed polylines would be the designation of my edge of pavement, or my asphalt in this case, my curbing, and my grass areas. Now, I do happen to have my curb turned off. Okay, so here's what we have. Now, what I want to do is bring these coverage areas into the software or into InfraWorks so that I can start to lay this out on top of my blank parcel. Okay, so I'm going to want to utilize my edge of pavement here. There it is. Okay, it is not a closed polyline, so we'll make it one, I hope. So what we'll do is this. Let's isolate it. Straightforward AutoCAD functionality there. Okay, there's my edge of pavement. Easy enough. Let's join that bad boy up. It's the pedit command. We'll join it. Make sure we've got everything. It is closed because there's my open. Okay. Now what I need to do is I need to use what's called map export. So we're going to borrow from the map 3D functionality within Civil here. Okay, because I want to generate a shape file so I can utilize it fairly quickly within InfraWorks. So I happen to have a shortcut MX for map export. Okay, so I've already gone ahead previously and I've created my shape files that I need. So in order to show these coverage areas, I have my edge of pavement or my asphalt. I've got my curb and gutter. I have my grass areas. I've got my accessible striping, and I've got my parking stripes. Okay, so we'll walk through this. I'm going to create a brand new one, and we'll call this one asphalt. We'll say okay. Now what I want to do is this. Okay, I need to create a polygon. Okay, so think of your polygon as the closed polyline. In this case, I want to select it manually. I can select it by layer, etc., and do a selection at that point. But this is a very simple situation. So I'm going to select. I'm going to grab that PL, and I'm going to hit enter. Now, this is a two-step process. I need to go to options, and I need to make sure that I toggle on treat closed polylines as polygons. Okay, doesn't recognize the polyline, but it will recognize the polygon. So once I have that set, I'm going to say okay. Exports it out just that quickly. So let's jump back into InfraWorks. Okay. So what I need to do now is bring that in. It's a shape file. Okay, I can go look for it, bring it in that way, or again, I can simply drag and drop. Now I'm not going to use the asphalt, I'm going to use the edge of pavement because I do know that that works. We're going to drag it in here. Okay, here's my configuration dialog again. Now in this case, it doesn't recognize what I want because these are the options that I can give it within InfraWorks. Okay, we talked about it being a coverage area. So I'm going to select coverage area. What that does, it allows me to access styles related to coverage areas. So I'm going to select the pencil there. And in this case, I want material. And I want roadway material. And I'd like my asphalt. And some of these you just have to play with a little bit. I like surface dark. It just pops a little bit better. And I'm going to say OK. We can change that very quickly if we don't like it. And we're going to say close and refresh. So if I zoom in, we can start to see the asphalt and the changes that we've made. Now, when we do this and we do coverage areas, we have to think about it like we would as far as display order. Okay, it's going to build on top of the next one. So my next coverage area will be my curb and gutter. Okay, I want to finish off my islands here. So what we'll do is the same thing. Now I've gone back into civil. Okay. And we'll do the same exact thing. We'll generate a shape file for our curb. So we're going to bring that in. And I keep going over here to data sources instead of the easy way. And I'm going to bring my HCO, or my Hagerman Company curb. I'm going to drag it in. We'll need to configure it. Coverage area. I do want material again. I would like roadway. And I'm going to give it some nice color. We'll say surface concrete. We'll see what that looks like. And we'll say close and refresh. Okay. All right. Starting to look like a parking area. Perfect. I've already generated my grass. We're going to bring that in as well. Again, it is a coverage area. This is terrain. We'll give it grass too. We'll say OK. And what I'm using here is just the basic installation of InfraWorks. Okay, nothing for this project has been customized. So if you have the full version of InfraWorks here, you're going to be able to do this as well. So we'll say close and refresh. Okay, starting to look better. Zooming in, we can see our pan there. Get up, you can see that 0.01, and there is a slight edge or offset in your curb anyway, per the detail, but you can see it looks pretty vertical there. Okay, your mid-ordinate distance allows these nice smooth curves around your areas. So we're getting there. We'll go ahead, we'll bring in our stripes. Right here. We'll drag those in. Now, line work is different than the polygons. I know that sounds obvious, but you'll see here in just a second what I mean by that. It's still a coverage area. And in this case, I want my style to reflect the color, which is white stripes. And we'll say OK. I'm going to close and refresh. I'm not seeing my stripes. Okay, that's because it's not a closed polyline or a polygon. Now you could go ahead and create closed polygons from your line work, but that's a lot of extra work to do. Okay, because if I just come over here and I right click and I say I want to select a feature, I should be able to see it, but usually there's a nice shadow. There isn't in this case. So we'll just continue on. But what I want to do is configure this. And what I need to do is I need to give my Linework thickness. So we'll configure. We'll go to the table tab and we'll go down to coverage. And what we'll do is we'll tell it what the buffer is or the thickness. So right now that Linework has a buffer or a width of 0, which is why we're not seeing it. Okay. So for right now, our Linework will make it 0.33. Okay, for a total width. Okay, so we'll make this 0.165 because that will give me the correct width. It's 0.165 on each side. So 2 times 1.65 or 0.165 is going to be 33. We'll say close and refresh. There we go. There's our Linework. And there's our correct thickness. So we're really starting to step it up here. Let's bring in our accessible information. Same coverage area. I'm going to give this a color of blue, just so it stands out. We'll say OK. Again, we need to tell it a thickness. 0.5, so 0.25 here. Close and refresh.
Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt, but it seems like maybe when you're in InfraWorks, there is a lag that we're experiencing from what's showing up. It seems about like maybe a 30-second or even a little longer lag from when you just type those numbers in to when I was able to see those. So I don't know if there's maybe a refresh of some sort that we could do. I don't know.
I can close this and open it back up, or close my Sybil and see if that will work. We're pretty much done with the Sybil portion.
Okay. I'll let you know if it
sure. We'll just do that.
Okay.
We'll close that up. So pretty much what we've seen is our 2D site plan for our coverage areas, our 3D for our surface, etc. So right now we're completely finished with this portion for civil, at least as far as we're concerned with the webinar. So I'm going to close this up very quickly. And we'll come back. We'll open up InfraWorks again. Let's do this though real quick. Maybe this will help out. Alrighty. I apologize for that. And I thank you, Ashley, for letting me know. 30 seconds is a long time. Just go ahead and open that model back up. Okay. All right, so let's give this a whirl, Ashley. Let's see what we can do here.
Okay.
So we brought in our accessible. Can you see the accessible striping, Ashley? It's blue, baby blue?
No, not yet.
Okay. Are we
The
still lagging,
screen,
Ashley?
the screen did change. I'm seeing like a model. I'm assuming the roads.
What I have now is showing the back side of the parking.
Yes.
Okay. So let's do something simple to see if we're going to stay on track here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add my building. So what I need to do, quite honestly here, is I need to be able to see it for one thing. But I'm going to adjust my surface layers. So this is going to work very much like our AutoCAD and our Civil. I'm going to turn off my edge of pavement. And it should take a second, and I can see my building. So what I did, Ashley, was I turned off the asphalt, or that dark gray color, and you should see underneath. You should see the existing parking now. Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to add a building here. Now, it doesn't have to be completely accurate as far as what it looks like, etc. Again, we're just trying to convey an idea. But I'm going to come over to buildings. I'm just going to select one. This looks close enough to what our building actually looks like. And I'm simply going to draw it here. We're going to tilt it up. We're going to close our style. Check to see the height. I think it's 8 stories, so it's going to be 80 feet plus or minus. Just hit enter. Okay, and there we go. So now that I've got that building put in, let's go back. We'll turn our edge of pavement back on. Okay, and what I can also do, Ashley, if it's still slow, I think we've conveyed what we need to see as far as grass, parking, accessible, and curb. So we'll make this a little bit smaller as far as the model goes, and just keep the edge of pavement there. Okay.
Okay.
So now it's starting to look like our location in Nashville. All right. So once you get to this point, now you can really start to just pretty it up. Okay. You can come in and you can start to add your trees using the city furniture. You can start to add in your vehicles if you're utilizing a bus. Okay. City furniture has all sorts of things. It's got vegetation. So if you want to utilize, say, an oval hedge, different types of trees, not only do they have different types of trees, they have them in different types of colors for seasonal use, etc. We'll try that one. We'll pop one here in my island. I can adjust the height. Maybe it's not that tall. Rotation so they don't all look the same. Okay, you can bring in separate trees. You can also select existing objects. If you select Control D, it creates a copy. Again, you can vary the heights, etc. Okay. So now what we can do is we can actually start to make this look a little bit more realistic. How does this set into the project area? What will it look like if we're at the back of the property, etc.? I've actually created a proposal that's final. You can make it as simple or as complex as you would like. We've got people. Okay. Somebody in our Nashville office pulled the alarm. It's a Saturday morning, not a whole lot of folks. We actually have cousin Eddie, that there's an RV Clark. Okay. In there. Now, what I also have is I've actually gone through and I've done a more in-depth in a completed Nashville office. So you can get an idea of what it really and truly looks like when it's totally and completely finished. And hopefully this won't take very long. Ashley, is it still lagging? Excuse me.
It is still lagging a little bit. Yeah.
Is it 30 seconds bad, or has it improved?
I think around 15 seconds.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll let this open up, I hope, here shortly. So not only can your InfraWorks be a conceptual design tool, but it can actually be almost an as-built tool to show exactly what will be constructed, how it will look, so that if there are any concerns from clients, municipalities, public, you'll be able to trot this out. You'll be able to take a look at it. It'll make much more sense. A lot of folks, like I said, that 2D just doesn't cut it, and I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very hard to visualize, and hopefully this will help them do that. So while that's working, let's see about answering some questions. No question. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's probably not your end. It's probably on us and our connection. Okay. Any other questions that anyone may have? Well, we're waiting to show you the finished product here. Now, putting in and creating that model that I just showed you didn't take very long. I mean, we did it in less than 45 minutes. Okay. So to get to the graphics portion, because you will already have your design in, you should already have elevations, you should already have surfaces, etc. So you should be able to generate a finished product depending on the detail, possibly 8 to 16 hours, maybe more, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. And it looks like it's actually on my end, because there we go. Now this is very detailed. My aerial is at the highest resolution, so this will take a little bit of time to come up and to generate. You can change the level of detail so it's smaller. But in this case, what I did is I went ahead, I finished off the parking. You'll see everything start to populate and come in. Okay. I finished off my trees. I actually added a stand of trees here around the perimeter. I've got our loading area, our FedEx, our electric panel, pedestal there. Here's the boulevard out front. Here's the new construction. Can't go anywhere without a bat symbol. Okay, and this is the commercial location out here in front of the building now. Okay, so it's still in progress, but it can be as detailed as you would like. Okay, so I've gone in, done the curb and gutter. This is the vertical aspect of it here. You can put in stop signs, you can put in signal poles, etc. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Well, I thank you for attending. And if you have any suggestions of what else you would like to see when you get sent the survey that Ashley spoke about earlier, please put in your comments what you would like to see. That helps us shape future webinars to exactly what our customers want. And we will go ahead, or at least I will definitely go ahead, and I'll start to create my webinars based on suggestions. So thank you again for attending. We appreciate it. Ashley, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Scott. Apologize to everyone for the lag. I'm not sure what is going on, but I will look into it with GoToWebinar. But this will conclude our broadcast. If you think of additional questions later, you can simply reply to that confirmation or reminder email you received from GoToWebinar. We can get those to Scott or whoever they need to go to get your questions answered. Once again, if you could answer the short survey, we would appreciate it. It will just pop up as we close down today. And thanks for attending today. Have a great day, everybody.